Try to open a tightly sealed jar right now. Most people struggle. Some people just can't. No shame in that. It happens constantly, happens to everyone. Now imagine doing that grip all day, every day for survival. A hunter-gatherer from 20,000 years ago could probably do it one-handed, without trying, without thinking about it. Their bones were denser. Their muscles were built completely differently. Some researchers estimate ancient populations were far stronger than modern elite athletes. Not soldiers, not bodybuilders, regular hunter-gatherers, just living their normal lives. That's not an exaggeration for a thumbnail. That's an actual finding from actual bone research. So what happened to us? Same species, same DNA basically, but somehow dramatically less physical capability. Today, we're digging into why ancient humans were stronger than we are, and what that says about the bodies we're walking around in today. Picture a normal day, 15,000 years ago. No cars, no elevators, no grocery stores. Every single calorie you eat, you personally worked for. Chasing it, digging it up, carrying it home, climbing for it, throwing a spear at it. Your body isn't optional equipment. It's your only tool. There's no gym membership. There's no rest day. Your entire life is the workout. And it shows in ways scientists can still measure today, right down in the bone itself. Let's get into it. So here's the real question we're chasing. Were ancient humans just naturally, genetically stronger than us? Or is something else going on entirely? Because if it's genetics, that's kind of depressing. It would mean modern humans are just permanently weaker, no matter what. But if it's something else, that changes the whole story. It would mean the difference isn't in our DNA, it's in how we actually live. Let's find out which one it really is. One quick note before we dive in. This isn't about shaming anyone's fitness level. It's just about understanding the honest history. So let's look at it honestly. Let's start with one of the most demanding things ancient humans did: persistence hunting. Chasing an animal on foot for hours until it physically collapses. No car, no horse in many cultures, just human legs. Antelope and other prey are faster than humans in a short sprint. But humans have something most animals don't: incredible long-distance endurance. Humans sweat efficiently across their whole body. Most four-legged animals can only cool down by panting. So over hours in the heat, the animal overheats. The human doesn't. Some hunter-gatherer groups still practice this today, taking 5 or 6 hours. Running, walking, tracking, running again under a blazing sun. That's not a casual jog. That's an ultra-marathon with a life-or-death stake. Do that regularly, for years, starting in childhood. Your cardiovascular system adapts in ways modern sedentary life never demands. Your muscles adapt to sustained, repeated effort, not short bursts. This isn't a one-time event either. This might happen multiple times a month, sometimes more. Compare that to how modern humans move today. A short walk to a car, a flight of stairs, if that. The gap isn't small, it's staggering, genuinely staggering. And that's before we even get to raw strength. Endurance alone reshapes bones, joints, and hearts over a lifetime. Layer strength training on top of that, and you start to see why these numbers are so extreme. Extreme, but earned, every single time. Let's talk about grip strength specifically. Every single tool ancient humans used required serious hand strength. Stone tools, wooden spears, woven ropes twisted by hand, climbing trees and rock faces, gripping tightly the entire way up, carrying heavy loads by hand for miles with no wagon or cart. Modern hands rarely do any of that. Most of us type, swipe, and maybe carry a grocery bag. Grip strength isn't just about hands either. It's connected to forearm, shoulder, and even core muscle development. A body that grips constantly builds strength through its whole upper half. Researchers who study grip strength across history have found something striking. Grip strength has been declining generation after generation in industrialized countries. Not because human anatomy changed, because daily demand for grip strength basically disappeared. Nothing left to grip, really. Use it or lose it isn't just a saying, it's a literal biological rule your body follows. Bone and muscle respond directly to how much load they experience. No load, over years, means the body simply doesn't build the capacity. It has no reason to. Ancient humans didn't have that option. Every day demanded grip strength, whether they wanted it or not. Their bodies built accordingly, automatically, without any conscious decision. That's not a superpower, just biology, doing its job. That's just what a body does, used the way it evolved to be used. Constantly. Physically. Without a choice in the matter. This process didn't start in adulthood either. It started in early childhood. Kids in hunter-gatherer societies were physically active almost constantly. Carrying siblings, digging for roots, climbing, helping process food. Bones are especially responsive to physical stress during childhood and adolescence. That's when the skeleton is still actively forming its structure. Load applied during those years builds thicker, stronger bone permanently. Not temporarily, permanently into the adult skeleton. A child running, climbing, and carrying loads daily grows a fundamentally different skeleton than a child who mostly sits. This isn't a small difference either. Researchers can identify this difference directly in fossilized and ancient bone. The cross-section of a bone reveals how it was loaded before death. Thicker walls, denser structure, reinforced in specific, predictable places, exactly where regular physical stress would have applied force. It's basically a lifetime activity log written directly into the skeleton. And ancient skeletons, especially from hunter-gatherer populations, read very differently from ours. More reinforced, more robust, built for demand that never let up. Modern skeletons, by comparison, often look almost fragile in the same measurements. Fragile is a strong word, but it fits statistically. Not because we're a weaker species, just differently used. Because most of us never load our bones like childhood used to. There was no decision to work out back then. Physical effort wasn't a lifestyle choice. It was just Tuesday. Every single day for an entire life. No days off, no exceptions, just life, doing what life required. Picture one specific hunter-gatherer, maybe 25 years old. She spent her whole life walking, carrying, climbing, digging. Today, she's helping haul a heavy carcass back to camp. No wheelbarrow, no rope pulley, just shoulders, arms, and raw strength. The load is awkward, heavy, and the ground is uneven. She adjusts her grip, braces her core, and keeps moving. This isn't a special event for her. It's routine. Her hands are calloused. Her forearms are visibly defined. Not from lifting weights in a gym, from an entire lifetime of exactly this kind of task. By the time she reaches camp, she's tired, but not injured. Her body has done this hundreds of times before. It knows exactly how to distribute the load. That kind of physical competence isn't talent. It's the direct result of a childhood built entirely around movement. No app reminded her to hit her steps. No fitness tracker congratulated her afterward. It was simply how getting through the day worked. Multiply that single trip by thousands across an entire lifetime, and you start to understand where that legendary strength actually came from. Not legendary to her, though. Just Tuesday, again. Throwing weapons like spears required a completely different kind of strength. Not just raw muscle. Explosive, whole-body rotational power. The same mechanical principle modern athletes train for in some throwing sports. Except ancient humans needed it just to eat dinner. A poorly thrown spear meant a missed hunt or a dangerous encounter. So that explosive power got trained constantly out of necessity. Even children practiced this early on. Small targets, small sticks. Building the motion long before real hunts. By adulthood, that motion felt completely natural to the hunter.
No conscious thought required, just years of accumulated repetition. Some researchers even study ancient arm bones for this kind of stress. One arm, the throwing arm, often shows more bone reinforcement. That's a direct, physical signature of repeated, powerful throwing, preserved in bone for thousands of years, waiting to be measured.
It's like finding a lifetime of training logs carved into the skeleton. Modern humans rarely develop that kind of one-sided reinforcement, because most of us never throw anything with real force, ever. No need to. Ancient technology, spears, atlatls, throwing sticks, demanded serious physical investment. Not occasionally, constantly, as a basic survival requirement. And the body adapted exactly the way it was asked to. Reinforced, efficient, built specifically for the tasks life actually demanded. That's the pattern, over and over, across every kind of physical evidence. The body isn't a fixed, generic template. It's built by what you actually ask it to do. Here's the twist that changes how you should think about all this. It's tempting to assume ancient humans were just genetically superior, built differently at the DNA level than modern humans. But that's very likely not what's actually going on. Genetically, ancient humans and modern humans are almost identical. We're talking tens of thousands of years, a blink in evolutionary time. Not nearly enough for a total species-wide strength downgrade. So if it's not genetics, what is it? Overwhelmingly, researchers point to lifestyle, not biology. The bodies didn't get weaker because human potential changed. They got weaker because daily demand on the body changed, dramatically. Think of muscle and bone as a system that responds to input. High physical demand, sustained for years, builds a high-capacity body. Low physical demand builds a low-capacity body. No judgment, just mechanics. Same genetic blueprint, wildly different outcome depending on daily life. That's actually a hopeful twist if you think about it. It means the strength gap isn't destiny. It's largely a product of environment and habit. Worth repeating, environment, not fate. That distinction changes everything about how we should think about this. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting.
Some researchers have directly compared ancient bone strength to modern elite athletes. Not average office workers, actual competitive athletes in serious training. One well-known study compared Bronze Age women's arm bones to modern rowers. Elite university rowers. People who train intensely, multiple hours a day. The ancient women's bones were still notably more robust in key measurements. Let that sink in for a second. Elite modern athletes, training specifically to build strength, still didn't fully match the demands of an ordinary ancient daily routine. That's how much more physically demanding everyday ancient life actually was. Not warfare, not competition, just normal chores day after day. That reframes the whole idea of ancient super strength. It wasn't superhuman, it was just constant. A baseline of physical effort that modern life has almost entirely removed. Even from people who actively try to stay fit today. Worth sitting with, honestly.
Modern effort versus ancient default. And there's an even sharper twist buried in this research. The decline in human strength didn't start with modern life. It started much earlier, with the shift to farming. Hunter-gatherers, it turns out, were often measurably stronger than early farmers. Even though farming is physically demanding too, in a different way. Farming tends to involve more repetitive, localized movement, hoeing, grinding grain, tending crops in a fixed area. Hunting and gathering involves constantly varied, full-body, long-distance movement. More running, more climbing, more carrying across greater distances. So even 10,000 years ago, long before cars or desks, human bodies were already trending toward less overall physical demand. The invention of agriculture may have been the very first step in a very long walk away from ancient-level physical strength.
Modern life didn't start this decline. It just kept accelerating something that began thousands of years earlier. A very old trend, just moving faster now. That's the honest shape of the story. Let's get into the specific research behind these claims. Real studies, real bones, real numbers. Nothing made up. One key study comes from Dr. Alison Macintosh at Cambridge University. Her team analyzed leg and arm bones spanning thousands of years, comparing hunter-gatherers, early farmers, and modern populations using CT scan technology. CT scans let researchers measure bone cross-sections in incredible detail. Not just density, but the actual internal structural engineering of the bone. How thick the walls are, how the bone is reinforced in specific spots. This method reveals mechanical loading history, almost like a bone's resume. Macintosh's research found something remarkable about hunter-gatherer leg bones. Their leg bone strength was comparable to or exceeded modern trained athletes, specifically ultra-endurance runners, people who train for extreme distance events. Again, not elite athletes versus average ancient people. Elite modern athletes matched against ordinary ancient hunter-gatherers, just living daily life. The comparison wasn't close in some specific measurements. The ancient bones were built for sustained, repeated, high-effort movement, because that's exactly what their daily life actually required, without exception. No shortcuts, no rest days built in, just relentless, ordinary consistency. Other research looked specifically at the transition into farming societies, comparing bone strength before and after agriculture became widespread in a region. In multiple studies across different continents, the pattern repeats. Bone robustness measurably declines as societies shift toward farming and settled life. This isn't just one isolated case. It shows up again in bone samples from different eras and places. Some researchers link this partly to changing daily movement patterns, and partly to changes in diet and overall physical routine. Farming meant less long-distance travel, but often more repetitive strain. Different demands. Generally, less overall structural reinforcement in the skeleton. It's a slow, multi-thousand-year story, not a sudden modern collapse. But the trend line points in one consistent direction: less varied, less intense physical demand over time. Right up through industrialization, and now the digital age. A straight, unbroken line, from the first plowed field to the last delivery app. There's also solid modern research on this exact trend right now. Some studies tracking grip strength across recent decades report a measurable decline, particularly among younger populations compared to previous generations at the same age. Researchers point to less manual labor, less active play, more screen time. Grip strength isn't just a fun trivia stat either. Some health researchers use it as a marker of overall physical health. Weaker grip strength has been statistically linked to various long-term health outcomes. That doesn't mean weak grip alone causes health problems. It's more like a visible symptom of a much bigger lifestyle shift. Less full-body movement in general, across an entire population. Compressed into one easy-to-measure number. It's a quiet, modern echo of the exact same ancient to modern pattern. Same pattern, smaller scale. Bodies built by demand. Bodies shaped by whatever daily life actually requires. Ancient humans didn't choose to be strong. They simply couldn't have survived any other way. Simple as that. Now, it's worth being fair and precise about this comparison. Not every single measurement favors ancient humans across the board. In some specific metrics, top modern athletes can match ancient benchmarks. Elite modern strength athletes, training with modern equipment and nutrition science, can achieve genuinely extreme results in narrow, specific movements. What's different is breadth, not just peak numbers. Ancient strength was broad and constant, across the whole body, daily. Modern peak strength is often narrow, specialized, and requires deliberate, scheduled effort. One is a lifestyle default. The other is a hard-won personal achievement.
That distinction matters more than a single impressive headline number. It's the difference between strength as a byproduct of living and strength as an intentional, effortful, modern project. Diet plays a role in this story too, though it's more complicated. Ancient physical demands were paired with unpredictable, sometimes lean, food supply. Feast some days, real scarcity on others. Modern humans generally have much more consistent access to calories and protein. That should, theoretically, help build muscle, if activity levels matched. But without the matching physical demand, extra calories mostly go elsewhere, often stored as fat rather than converted into functional strength. It's a genuine mismatch between an ancient body and a modern lifestyle. Built for scarcity and constant movement, living in a world of abundance and near constant stillness, a strange mismatch, honestly. That mismatch shows up in a lot more than just strength research. It's a bigger story than jars and gym memberships. To put some real numbers on this, briefly, some hunter-gatherer studies estimate average grip strength higher than typical modern adults. Not by a small margin either, in several of these comparisons. Modern grip strength studies, tracking industrialized populations over recent decades, show measurable average declines, even within just the last 30 to 40 years. That's an extremely short window, biologically speaking. Far too short for any genetic change, which reinforces the same core point from yet another angle. This is lifestyle, unfolding in real time, not ancient history repeating itself. We're not comparing two different species, we're comparing two dramatically different daily routines, wearing the exact same genome. Same hardware, completely different software, you could say. And software, unlike hardware, can actually be changed. So when you put all of this together, a clear picture forms. Ancient strength wasn't magic. It wasn't superior biology. It was the natural, unavoidable result of a physically demanding daily existence, applied consistently, starting in early childhood, for an entire lifetime. Remove that demand, generation after generation, and the body simply adjusts downward. Not because it has to, but because modern life allows it. So what does this actually mean for you, right now, today? Good question, actually. Let's answer it properly. It means that ancient-level strength isn't locked away in a lost gene. The basic biological machinery is still fully there, in every human body. It's just not being asked to do much most of the time. Modern life removed the demand, almost entirely, without asking permission. Elevators instead of stairs, cars instead of walking, delivery instead of carrying. None of that is a moral failure. It's just how infrastructure works. But it does mean something important gets quietly lost along the way. The default, built-in physical competence ancient humans simply grew up with. That's part of why deliberate exercise has become such a modern necessity. Not because bodies changed, because daily life stopped providing that stimulus automatically. In a strange way, a modern gym recreates something ancient, artificially reproducing the load and effort daily survival used to demand naturally. Every deadlift, every long run, every heavy carry is a small modern echo of an entirely ordinary ancient Tuesday. Funny when you think about it that way. That's a strange thought to sit with. The thing we now schedule, pay for, and specifically plan around used to just be called living. It also reframes what weak and strong even really mean. It's not really about being a lesser version of ancient humans. It's about living in an environment that no longer demands much. The gap isn't destiny, it's context. And context, unlike genetics, is something you actually have some control over. Not to match a hunter-gatherer exactly. That's not really the point. Nobody's grading this. But to understand where the gap came from, honestly, without mysticism. It didn't come from ancient humans being special. It came from a body doing what it was asked to do, every day. That's the whole story. Let's go back to that jar you couldn't open at the start.
It's not really about the jar. It's about everything that jar represents. A body built by convenience instead of built by necessity.
An ancient hunter-gatherer's strength wasn't a gift or a mystery. It was simply the honest, physical price of staying alive, paid daily, from early childhood, without exception, for an entire lifetime. Running, carrying, climbing, throwing, gripping, over and over and over again. Every single day. No exceptions. That's the real story behind the numbers researchers keep finding in bone. Not a lost superpower, a completely ordinary body shaped by an extraordinary amount of daily demand. The exact same body you're sitting in, reading this right now. Still fully capable underneath everything, just waiting for a reason to be asked. That's genuinely worth remembering, worth acting on even. So that's why ancient humans were so much stronger than us. Not different DNA, not a different species, just a completely different, unavoidable relationship with daily physical effort. One we traded away, piece by piece, for convenience. Worth trading back, at least a little, bit by bit, if you want to. If this changed how you think about your own body, hit subscribe. New deep dives into ancient human life go up all the time, and there's more of this story still to come.